Solidarity with Palestine Award Ceremony. Solidarity with Palestine honor for me. Award Ceremony. Solidarity with Palestine honor for me. Award Ceremony. Solidarity with Palestine honor for me. Award Ceremony. We have some echoes. Okay. So it's really an honor for me to host this event tonight. This is one of the highlights of our activities here at the center. I will introduce different persons and they will appear on the screen as we go through the evening. But we will start with a song that was written by one of the most famous poets of Palestine, Ibrahim Tuqan. He wrote it in 1934. It's called My Home. And it was composed by Lebanese composer Muhammad Falafel at the time. It was for a while actually the Palestinian national anthem, and it resonates with Palestinians and with their attachment to Palestine. So let's start and hear this, and I'll be back.
Oh, my home.
Very well. Our next item is going to be recitation from the Holy Quran by Imam Farooq Shkir, and he is the Imam of Hayat Sophia.
Item is going to be
And he will do
المحطة التالية ستكون تلاوة عطرة للقرآن الكريم للإمام
and he will talk.
مع الإمام الذي التالية ستكون تلاوة عطرة للقرآن الكريم الإمام.
You're muted, Dr. Sami.
إمام فاروق مجتهد وسيتلو علينا من آيات سورة الإسراء، وهي السورة التي تتحدث عن إسراء الرسول.
He's going to recite verses from
إذا الإمام فاروق مجتهد سيقرأ علينا آيات من سورة الإسراء
عن إسراء الرسول.
الإمام فاروق مجتهد، وإذا الإمام فاروق مجتهد سيقرأ علينا آيات من سورة الإسراء. إسراء الرسول. الإمام فاروق مجتهد، وإذا الإمام فاروق مجتهد سيقرأ علينا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير.
No, because I was in the English, that's why.
وآتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلناه هدى لبني إسرائيل ألا تتخذوا من دوني وكيلا ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين في الأرض مرتين ولتعلن علوا كبيرا فإذا جاء وعد أولاهما بعثنا عليكم عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار وكان وعدا مفعولا ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوا أول مرة وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن عدتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حصيرا إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما صدق الله العظيم. الفاتحة.
Thank you, Imam Farooq. Imam Farooq is the Imam of the Hagia Sophia Mosque. We're here today coming together virtually to pay tribute to 6 outstanding individuals who have been part and parcel of the struggle for justice and freedom in Palestine. It really gives us great pleasure at the center, as well as our co-sponsors, the Qudus Platform, which I will introduce later, as well as the Ministry for Culture and Tourism and Tourism of the Turkish Republic. We come together today to pay tribute to these 6 outstanding individuals. This event was supposed to take place last year. It was the second event. The first one took place in 2018. It was in the categories of human rights, as well as profile, encourage, and arts and culture. Back in 2018, the parents of Rachel Khoury, Craig and Cindy Khoury, were the recipient of the Human Rights Award. In the profile, encourage, it was Muhammad Abu Khadir, the person from Jerusalem who was beaten up and was able to stand up for those who have transgressed against him. And in the category of arts and culture, it was Najil Ali posthumously. As you know, Najil Ali is the most prominent cartoonist of the Palestinian struggle. This year, we will have 5 categories. We added 2 more categories, one for religious leaders, and we will introduce the recipients. As you know, it will be Father Emmanuel Musallam and Sheikh Ikrima Sabri in this category, and they will be introduced properly at the time that they will be awarded. In the category of profile encourage, it will be Hanadi Al-Halawani. In the category of human rights, it will be Al-Haq organization, represented today by its executive director, Sha'wan Jabareen. And we also added one more category, which is public intellectual, and the recipient of that award this evening is going to be Professor Ilan Pape. And finally, in the arts and culture, it was, as I said, received by Naji Al-Ali posthumously back in 2018. This year, it will be the British singer Roger Waters. So we're very honored and pleased that all of them are with us today, and we will be able to hear from them momentarily. I would like just to share with you, if I can, the program very quickly. Shortly, I will introduce the President Emeritus of the Quds Platform, Ms. Bilqis Ibrahim Haqqi Oglu, and she will be giving us also welcoming remarks. Ms. Ibrahim Haqqi Oglu, as I said, is the former president and the President Emeritus of the Qudus Platform, which we will introduce also today. And she will be giving her welcoming remarks. She will be followed by Ms. Uzgul Özkan Yavuz, who is the Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Culture and Tourism for the Republic of Turkey. After that, we are very fortunate to have a musical concert under the title The Laments of Jerusalem. These were 4 short songs that were composed just for this event tonight, and I will also introduce them in order. Then we will see a short film on SIGA, as well as a presentation on the co-sponsor of this event, Qudus Platform. And then we will watch a short film on the 6 Ds that this was produced also particularly for this event. After that, we will have each awardee introduced by a prominent person as well, and that will close the evening. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for being part of this great evening to honor those who have Palestine in their heart, and they were able to show the world what it means to work for a just cause. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Bilqis Ibrahim Hakli to give her welcoming remarks. Ms. Bilqis, you are muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Buyurun. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests.
Zeytin Dağı sembolü üzerinden gerçekleştirdiğimiz ödül törenlerini aslında yüz yüze
This
yapmak istiyorum.
award ceremony, normally we wanted to hold it face to face, but unfortunately,
Dolayısıyla
because of the pandemic, we had to meet from our screens. And we say, as long as hearts are together. So yes, this award will go to people, to you, with which our hearts beat together. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for coming. Among the Jerusalem platform events, and then with SIGA, with the center that is led by Professor Sami, we run this award, Peace Awards, which is an event that is followed by the whole world, but it is also tries to ignore at the same time. The whole world watches this unjust occupation, but try to ignore it at the same time. And we try to show that we hear these people and we have the intention to bring their voices out. That is the reason why we established these awards. During a visit to Jerusalem, we have witnessed events, and we felt that we had to do something about it ourselves, because in the face of this injustice, both for humanity and for future generations, for the posterity, we could not keep silent, because that would be because it gave us a major responsibility, and it would be a burden on us to keep silent. So within this frame, we have established the Jerusalem platform after that visit, and we have organized symposiums and many concerts, events, talks, exhibitions, and we organize the award ceremony that we're also having today. So we try to keep the issue on the agenda. We award people who protect the dignity of humanity despite all imperialist oppression. These are exemplary figures. So what kind of a human profile do we chase? In the face of all these events, the person that we describe, we should think what this person should be. So what really suits a person, a human being? What should a human being do? We believe that we have to ask this question to ourselves. But human beings are the Khalifa of Allah on earth. but we sometimes forget about this important character of human beings, but we try to crush each other, and we even try to crush the nature that we live in. For both our material world and spiritual world, the two areas that are presented to us, all these means presented to us by Allah, and of course our mind that was given to us by Allah to think, we usually deviate from our hearts and our minds, but rather present them to the service of Satan. And this has also claimed our peace as well. But actually, we have everything, we have all the experience that we need in order to live in a humane environment. The history is full of examples of this. And actually, all this experience also tells us, it shows us that if we are not building a humane order, we face disappointment and we face great suffering. We do have such experiences in the past as well. So yes, nothing that humans do is minor, because everything that we do is done consciously, and as a result of everything that we do, we have the mind to foresee the consequences of what we do. So humans are aware, they're conscious of what they're doing. But sometimes we act without thinking. We sometimes don't suffice with the beauty of the sky, but rather we try to use fireworks, for instance, which scare birds and which disrupt the nature, which disrupt the environment. So, for instance, there are stars in the sky, but we sometimes don't find it enough and we use fireworks. And we don't like the shape of the trees in our garden, and we try to chop them as we wish, or in order to boost the fire of our arrogance, we sometimes try to tame and put shackles on wild animals. And we don't stop there, we go even further. In all the destruction, this is not all of people's destruction. We sometimes don't take, for instance, the black people as human beings because we don't like their color, or we try to exclude people who have the rights, and we sometimes push people out of their own homes. We drop bombs on these children just because they're not our own children. Humans do this. Humans sometimes kick those who are praying, who are prostrating in front of God, and without remembering that there is an actual rule setter above all of us. All of this shows us that we have to distinguish between people in a different way. Those who reinstate rights and those who breach others' rights. All of these are added to each other. For instance, a bird's right can also translate into human rights. So as we defend Palestinians' rights, those who support us we know that there are also people who would protect the rights of birds or of the fish. And it's our duty, it's humans' duty to respect all rights. The reason why we're raising all of these issues together is not to understate the significance of the Palestinian cause, but actually your way of looking at the Palestinian issue also is linked to humanity, being human, because if you cannot see the whole universe as one, in that case we unless we can imagine the rights of everything in the universe, in that case, that's a deficiency in us or deficiency in our humanity. So, in every opportunity, as loud as we can, there are those who scream, those who raise their voices as loud as they can. But if they keep silent when it comes to the Palestinian cause, in that case, their voices are not real. The voices that they raise are fake. So, in this issue, in the face of the Israeli oppression, we need to increase the power of the shoulders, which help with this burden, and expand the denominator. Palestine is a concrete example where we can see the whole story, whole narration of humanity. With all the unjust arguments this issue has perpetuated for so many years, we ignored, or we only said, oh, too bad, or we said pity, or we said, what is this issue? Who are these people? If such arguments are used, or if some people, sometimes these arguments are used or to avoid the issue, and some others say Muslims deserved it because they were barbarians. But no, thinking this way would not be correct. It's not respecting human rights. And ignoring this or ignoring these voices, this suffering of the sufferers, it's not really respecting rights. It doesn't suit any conscience. A nation who always likes to talk about the oppression that they faced in history. Despite all the oppression that they do themselves, they are still able to claim that they're innocent. I'm talking about Israel. How can they do this? With what kind of reason do they try to display their oppression as justified? If you don't want something to be done on you, you shouldn't do it on others. This is the only way humans reach peace. And nations are elevated with the effort that they make for peace. Nations are elevated for their effort for peace. So today we are here as those who talk about conscience. We're not alone. And we know from the crowd here that we're not alone. And for this reason, I thank all of you, each and every one of you. But rather than defending the Palestinian cause, for supporting those who have set off on this journey, because your attitude, your approach is a result of you not compromising on your humanity and being humans. And the gratitude is only to Allah. As I conclude my remarks, I would like to congratulate those who made this event possible. For instance, the Ministry of Culture and Miss Özgül Özkan Yavuz, who since the very beginning has understood us, has listened to us as a person who's inside the organization, and she gave us all the required support. I would like to thank the Center for Islam and Global Affairs of Sabahattin Zaim University, as well as the director, Professor Alarian. I saw in him how to work in great patience and great perseverance and in an idealist way for a right cause. I saw a concrete example of it in him. He is actually one of the people who deserves an award. Mr. Sami and his team, as well as the artists who make this event even more beautiful with their art, Bora Uymaz, as well as the performers, for instance, Shirin Pancaroğlu and Tolga Akşit for playing the instruments. Grateful to all of them. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bilkis Hanem, and thank you for your kind words. Our next speaker is Ms. Uzgul Özkan Yavuz. Ms. Yavuz is the Deputy Minister of the Ministry for Culture and Tourism in the Republic of Turkey. Uzgul Hanem, buyurun.
Hayırlı akşamlar diliyorum. Tüm
Good
katılımcıları
evening,
selamlıyorum.
everyone. I would like to greet all participants.
Bakanlığımızın da destek katkılarıyla bu yıl
Ministry is supporting and sponsoring
ödülleri
the
münasebetiyle
second International Solidarity with Palestine Award ceremony, and it is on this occasion I am here with you
bu önemli
today.
müstesna ödül töreninde yapacağım konuşmayı hazırlarken elbette aklımdan
Prestigious award ceremony, and as I was preparing my speech, I remembered a quote from Nuri Pakdil, a poet, who says, "Half of my heart is Mecca, half of it Medina, and on top of it lies Quds." Actually, when we sit down and think,
hayattaki
this expression actually sums up our thoughts and our faith. It's of great profundity that expresses our sentiments. For us Muslims, Jerusalem, Kudus, means the last territory before he rose to heaven, our Prophet Muhammad. And it also houses Masjid al-Aqsa. That's why it is a holy site. And it is important also for the history of humanity and religions. We can talk about that for a very long time, but there is one thing that is indisputable. This is a holy site that is significant for three Abrahamic religions. And this is a holy city that needs people to live in peace. However, for the last century, it has been a site of cruelty and bloodshed and tears. There is cruelty because thousands of Palestinian brothers and sisters are unjustly evicted from their homes. Yes, there is blood because people are resisting, fighting against the rights that are taken away from them. And as they resist, they are exposed to even more massacres and cruelty. Children, women and men, and old people. Yes, there are tears, because even inside Masjid al-Aqsa, people are intercepted, and in attacks, small children are martyred and are also limped, and children become orphaned, and parents become childless. And this is not a question of a nation or ummah, it's the cause for entire humanity. In the news, we frequently hear the expression, well, this is the bleeding wound of Middle East. Well, actually, I find it inadequate and actually inaccurate, because Quds is not a wound of Middle East, but it's a wound of the entire world, and it's not a bleeding wound, it's a wound that others make bleed. All of this takes place in front of international community. No person with eyes that see and ears that hear do not remain silent against this. Led by our president here at Republic of Turkey, in every case of such magnitude, we very clearly put our reaction forward. We are talking about lawless and ruleless and also cruel attacks. And we, as a nation and a state, very, very strongly and at the highest level portrayed our attitude. And we made a call on international community. Of course, this will end in welfare. This situation will end in welfare only if the entire international community says stop. People listen to their conscience, and We have with us very significant people who
Ve
hear the
yüce gönüllü
cries of sad and innocent Palestinian people. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude for their appreciation. It's very, very precious, their attitude, and they are making history with that. And I hope their example will be followed by many other people.
Kudüs'ün
Esteemed guests, there is one thing we need to be sure of. Quds is at a supra-political level, and it should be kept away from daily disputes. Quds platform, Jerusalem platform, has been putting a lot of effort into this direction since 2015, and it has carried out incredibly precious work and events. We organize international symposiums, film festivals, and conferences, and also many other events. These events are carried out within the spirit of the time, and it serves a certain purpose. I would like to thank Belkıs İbrahim Hakkıoğlu
bugün
for
bir
sensitivity,
arayacağımız Uluslararası
her
Zeytin
attitude, and
Medeniyeti Derneği
her
Kudüs
approaches
Platformu
that broaden our horizons.
önemli bir etkinlik. Ödüller
Second,
Filistin'de
international
işgalci
solidarity with Palestine award ceremony is very, very important. And
sahiplerine duyurmak
these
maksadıyla
awards are given out to
insanlar için
people with a conscience, with a voice of their conscience against the occupation of Palestine.
ve
These are
örnek
people that make effort. They don't stay silent. And their voices are so strong that they can actually activate other people's conscience across the globe.
yaşanan
These
problemlerin
activities are carried out for the following purposes: to
yapılması ve çözülmesi,
attain stability in these ancient territories, and to create fairness,
düzenleniyor.
to solve the problems, and also to return to
Filistin'de yaşayan
fraternal, brotherly lives in these territories. Our wish is, and our prayer is this: we want all nations in Palestine to live in peace and health as they deserve. I would like to thank
öğretim üyelerine, İslam ve
the
Küresel İlişkiler Merkezi Direktörüne çalışan
Association for Wisdom, Civilization, and also the rector of Istanbul Sabahat Nizam University, and also the SIGA director and workers. I would like to thank everyone. I would like to also congratulate everyone who have supported the Palestinian cause.
Harur Mescid-i Aksa'ya
I would like to greet
bugün
everyone, every
aramızda
brave
olmayan
heart,
tüm
including the Palestinian people that are heroically resisting, and the city of and Mesa. I hope that these kinds of works will prove beneficial, and I would like to greet you all with respect.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yavuz. Thank you for your kind remarks, and thank you for heart-spirited talk that really gives a lot of hope to many Palestinians in Palestine and across the world. Our next item here is the musical concert, and this musical concert was actually composed specifically for the event tonight. It's titled "The Laments of Jerusalem," and it involves three talented musicians: Miss Shireen Panjaroglu, who would be playing the harp, and Mr. Tulga Akshit, who will be playing the clarinet, and Mr. Bora Oymaz, who is also the composer and will be playing the tambourine. In this, we have four composed songs. The first one is titled "The Voice of Jerusalem," Kudsunun Sesi, and the composer, as I said, is Mr. Bora Oymaz. Let's hear the first song. Our second song is titled The Voice of Jerusalem. The second one is called An Evening in Jerusalem, Kuduste Bir Aksham. And again, the composer is Mr. Hora Almas. third song is titled Dervishism is in the Head. This actually has lyrics. These lyrics were written by Yunus Amra, a famous mystic Sufi of the 13th and 14th century, very famous one during the Ottoman Empire. And the lyrics in English goes as follows. Dervishism, which is devotion to God, is in the head or the conscience, not in the crown. Healing is in the fire, not in the metal sheet. If you break a believer's heart, it's not worship that you offer to God. If you seek somebody, seek God in your heart, not in Jerusalem, Mecca, or Hajj. No, Yunus's youthful words, that's Yunus Imra, it, meaning meeting God, comes much sooner than later. Let's listen.
Dervişlik baştadır, tacda değildir. Dervişlik baştadır, tacda değildir. Kızdırmak otudadır, sacda değildir. Allah Allah, kızdırmak otudadır, sacda değildir. Eğer bir müminin kalbini kırarsan, eğer bir müminin kalbini kırarsan, Hakka eylediğin secde değildir. Allah Allah, Hakka eylediğin secde değildir. Kalbinde ara, hakkı arar isen kalbinde ara. Kudüs'de Mekke'de hacda değildir. Allah Allah, Kudüs'de Mekke'de hacda değildir. Kabul et Yunus'un ergen sözünü, kabul et Yunus'un ergen sözünü. Tizcek gelir başa, geçice değildir. Allah Allah, tizcek gelir başa, geçice değildir.
Now we have the fourth song, which is titled Insan, or Human Being. Fourth song.
Dr. Sami, you are muted.
Dr. Sami, sound please.
Sesi gelmiyor.
Dr. Sami, sound please. You muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, I just want to say these were four beautiful songs, four beautiful compositions. I want to thank the performance of Ms. Shireen Panjaroglu, Mr. Tolga Akshit, and Mr. Bora Oymaz. These were, as I said, done particularly and specifically for Jerusalem tonight, and we thank them for it. Our next presentation is going to be about the sponsors. First, about SIGA, the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. And we have been in existence now in 4 years, since 2017. And our vision is to be a premier research institution for ideas, analysis, and policy recommendations on global affairs, particularly those impacting the Muslim world. And our mission is to conduct high quality research and analysis, educate the public and policymakers, and train experts and propose novel ideas. And part of that is also to be practical, not just to be academic in the academic sphere, but also to make an impact, a difference in the world. We will show a 2-minute video just to say a little bit about SIGA for the past few years.
Housed at Istanbul Sabah al-Din Zaim University, started in 2017. Our mission is to be a research institution in the region on issues related to Muslim societies, the Muslim world, and its relationship to global powers and global affairs.
We successfully organized several international conferences, one on Palestine, 2 on Islamophobia, and 2 on Muslim Ummah.
SIGA conducts an array of seminar series that cover many topics and hosts many important scholars from abroad. The topics cover Egypt, summarize title. We cover, try to help us out. Theory, interaction.
Looks like we're having a buffering problem. Okay, I can't see anything, so let's move on. Okay, our technical staff, and we'll move on. Okay, very well. I'm sorry about this technical problem. See that we have some problems. Anyway, I would like to say a few words about the Qudus platform also, because they are partners for us in this today. As you all know, the Qudus platform has been in existence now for 6 years, since 2015. It was established by a group of women, and these women were mostly in the media.
Hepinizin bildiği gibi Qudus platformu 6 yıldır faaliyet gösteriyor 2015 yılından bu yana.
And they were in their first visit to Jerusalem. They were working, as said, in communications and the media, and they went from Istanbul to Jerusalem. And from there, they immediately noticed what's happening in Palestine, that there is a problem with the occupation, and they felt that they have responsibility as people who have witnessed the ugliness, the first-hand ugliness of the occupation, to do something about it. And that's when they started putting together this organization called the Jerusalem Platform, and it was established to follow the heritage of a civilization that respects the spiritual aspects and identity and of Jerusalem, appreciates its value, and builds it without being destructive like what they have witnessed during their visit. It provides the most humane examples of the experience of different communities living together. And they focus on culture and the arts. So they had different kind of activities, including seminars that they brought experts and academics to talk about what's happening there, to talk about the past civilizations, the social life, the experiences of the communities, those who live together. And they organized conferences and panels and experts on Palestine and Jerusalem. They also organized a painting exhibit, which was titled Jerusalem That Left Its Mark on the Canvas. And it consisted of artwork of world-famous Middle Eastern painters and artists. They also organized musical concert. They brought a Palestinian musical ensemble called Mizaj, the world-famous pianist Tulu Yohan Orulo, a Turkish one, of course, and the concert was held at the Hagia Irene Museum. In the concert, the musicians played, and it was watched by thousands. They also had the Jerusalem Platform biggest theme stage. It was called Jerusalem of Time, or Time of Jerusalem, and it was watched by the thousands of people. These are some of the events. This is the stage. It was also supported by the Ministry of Culture, and they brought many individuals who have left their mark on the history of Jerusalem. It also had an exhibition called Heritage Jerusalem, Common Heritage Jerusalem, in which they talked about the richness of Jerusalem in history, and they brought many historical facts about Jerusalem and Palestine. They also had a musical, as I said earlier, a musical concert, and they brought all these people from Palestine to play. And of course, this is the stage. This is part of the thousands who watched it. This is part of the historical exhibit as well. These are all, by the way, it's all run by women, mashallah. And it was also honored by the president of Turkey. So we are very grateful for their work, and we hope that they will continue this pioneering work. Next, we will show a 20-minute video about the 6 awardees, and then we will introduce them one by one. And for each one, we'll also have a prominent person introducing each one. Now we're going to watch a 20-minute video to talk a little bit about our 6 awardees for tonight.
Since the Nakba, or catastrophe, the Israeli occupation has been trying to distort the facts. Israeli propaganda continues to parrot the same tired claims regarding Palestine, betting that in the long run, Palestinian generations and the free people of the world will one day somehow dismiss Palestine from their agenda. We have all witnessed the recent aggression in Gaza. We have all observed how Jerusalemites were able to thwart Israeli raids and incursions into Al-Aqsa Mosque in celebration of the Israeli occupation of Jerusalem. The world has seen the crimes of evictions, displacement, and ethnic cleansing carried out against Palestinian families in neighborhoods in Jerusalem, such as in Sheikh Jarrah and Silwan, which are still ongoing. These crimes aim to expel Jerusalemites from their homes and replace them with colonists and settlers in an ever-renewed series of tragic displacements. The world has witnessed Israeli bombs and rockets targeting unarmed children, women, and civilians in the Gaza Strip, resulting in dozens of lives lost, many others incapacitated, and causing tremendous property damage. Everyone has seen how Palestinians inside the 1948 territories and the West Bank have risen up in revolt, unified in their struggle, bringing all Palestinians together in historic Palestine as well as in the diaspora, triggering massive protests by supporters and free people across the globe. And despite the latest normalization attempts with the Zionist state, the Palestinian cause has been able to bring in once again, in the struggle for freedom, all people of good conscience together. Protests and calls for action have swept the Arab world and spread to many cities across continents in the US, Europe, Latin America, Asia, and Africa. In these demonstrations, communities and free people demanded from their governments to stop supporting the occupation and to hold it accountable, despite the complicit official positions of many who justify Israeli occupation. Millions have spoken and risen up, declaring their total solidarity with Palestine and support for the Palestinian struggle. Therefore, it is our honor, privilege, and duty to pay tribute to a group of outstanding individuals and organizations who are shining examples in their work for justice and freedom in Palestine in the Second International Solidarity with Palestine Award Ceremony, an event organized and hosted by the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University and the Association for Wisdom and Civilization, Kudüs Platformu in Istanbul, Turkey. We are honored and pleased to present the awards in the following categories to these eminent persons. 4 religious leaders, Father Manuel Musallam from the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem, and Sheikh Akrama Sabri, the Imam of Al-Aqsa Mosque and head of the Islamic Supreme Council of Jerusalem. For public intellectual, Professor Ilan Pape, historian and academic at the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom. For profile and courage, Hanadi al-Halawani, a fierce defender of Al-Haram al-Sharif in Jerusalem against the Israeli occupation. For human rights, Al-Haq Organization for Human Rights, represented by Executive Director Sha'wan Jabarin. For arts and culture, musician, singer, and activist Roger Waters. Father Manuel Musallam is known for his fierce resistance to the occupation and for his tenacious defense of the right of the Palestinian people to defend themselves. He is a Christian cleric, a member of the Islamic Christian Committee for the Support of Holy Sites, and the head of the Independent Palestinian Commission for the Prosecution of Israeli War Crimes. He is also one of the foremost advocates for ending the siege on Gaza and in working towards Palestinian reconciliation. He is best known for saying, quote, "If the occupation prevents the call to prayer in the mosques of Jerusalem, then raise the call to prayer over the bells of our churches, emphasizing that, quote, Jerusalem is the city of God and the Arabs, whether Muslims or Christians, as well as for free Palestinians and people across the globe." During recent attacks, Father Musallam called Christians to participate in the Al-Aqsa Mosque uprising, saying, quote, "He who is not with his people in confrontations with the occupation has no right to be with them in peace."
أي حجر يتزعزع في الأقصى هو حجر يتزعزع في القيامة. أي رجل مسلم يقتل هو رجل مسيحي يقتل. فمن لا قدس له لا إسلام له ولا مسيحية له. نحن أمام مشروع من أوروبا، إحنا كمسيحيين ومسلمين لا نرى منهم إلا الخزي والعار والاضطهاد. إسرائيل لا تريد السلام. إسرائيل تريد كل أرض فلسطين. رضيتوا أو غضبتوا، فهمتوا ولا ما فهمتوا. إسرائيل هدمت جميع الوسائل والمشاريع التي تقودنا نحو السلام.
Sheikh Akrama Sabri is the Grand Imam or preacher of the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque and one of its key defenders over decades. He is known for his courageous stands in the Palestinian cause and for defending the sanctity of the holy places. He also serves as the head of the Islamic Supreme Council of Jerusalem. Since 1992, he was the founder and has been the president of the Council of Scholars and Imams in Palestine, as well as the head of the Palestine Supreme Fatwa Council. The Israeli occupation has tried to keep him away from Al-Aqsa Mosque by all means, but he's maintained his defiance to the occupation, saying, quote, "I am the son of Al-Aqsa and I will never abandon it, despite the repeated expulsion orders."
في من كل العالم وصلت سماحة الشيخ رسائل تنديد بهذا القرار ودعم لسماحة الشيخ، وقضية سماحة الشيخ الآن تصدرت كل صفحات الإعلام في العالم العربي والعالم الإسلامي. الآن الكرة في ملعب السلطات الإسرائيلية. السلطات الإسرائيلية تعلم علما جيدا أن سماحة الشيخ لم يقم بأي مخالفة على القانون، إنما هو يقوم بدوره المنوط به كشيخ وكخطيب وكعالم من علماء المسلمين في المسجد الأقصى المبارك.
أقسم بالله العظيم أن نحمي المسجد الأقصى المبارك، أن نحمي المسجد الأقصى المبارك، أن نحمي المسجد الأقصى المبارك.
Historian and academic Professor Ilan Pappé is one of the most preeminent historians of Palestine and the struggle against Zionism. He was an academic at the Haifa and is currently a professor at the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom and the director of the European Center for Palestine Studies at the university. Due to his uncompromising stand against the occupation and in support of the right of return and resistance, he's been severely criticized and attacked in Israel. He emphasizes that Zionism, contrary to its claims and narrative, had planned to expel and ethnically cleanse the Palestinians from their homeland in the Nakba of 1948 by intimidating, killing, and displacing them, blaming the Zionist movement and the Israeli state for the calamities and catastrophe that befell the Palestinian people.
The Zionist movement was the first buyer of land in Palestine that did not only want the land, but wanted also to remove the tenants who lived on the land. For that, it needed the British support, and Britain actively supported with the first ethnic cleansing operations, one can call it that way, in the mid-1920s, when the first Palestinian villages disappeared, long before 1948, due to the change of land regime, and in some cases the British police and army came to evict the Palestinians from the first plots of land that the Zionist movement has purchased in Palestine. Similar fate awaited the people of Jaffa, Akka, Baisan, Safad. 11 Palestinian towns were depopulated in a way that reminds us of the depopulation of towns in the Middle East today after 2012.
Hanadi al-Halawani is an educator and one of the most prominent women defenders of the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque. She has dedicated her life to serving Al-Aqsa and has been subjected to Israeli harassment, intimidation, and attacks, which resulted in her numerous arrests and denials of access to the mosque for long periods of time. She has also defiantly challenged Israeli soldiers demanding her right to enter the compound of the mosque and to practice her natural and human right of free worship and to fulfill her duty in educating her students.
يعني أنا مدرسة ومنع هلا إني أدخل داخل المسجد الأقصى في القرآن أخذ علامات اللي عم بدرسهم في المسجد.
I can see myself, so they can see me. They just have nobody spoken to me.
Al-Haq organization is the leading Palestinian human rights organization based in the city of Ramallah in the West Bank. Since its founding in 1979, its main goal is to establish the rule of law and has advocated for the protection and respect of human rights in the occupied Palestinian territories. The organization works diligently on documenting the violations and crimes perpetrated by the occupation with the goal of putting an end to such practices. The organization has also sought to bring Israeli perpetrators to justice and has released hundreds of reports, publications, and legal studies related to the situation in Palestine. It has also led dozens of local and international campaigns against the occupation. World-renowned and notable human rights activist Sha'wan Jabarin is Al-Haq's executive director.
منذ سنوات والمستوطنون يحرقون ممتلكات الفلسطينيين دون رادع، ويخطون شعاراتهم عند ارتكاب كل جريمة في تحد واضح للفلسطينيين والقانون الدولي. حرق هؤلاء منازل وسيارات وحرقوا أشجار زيتون وحقول قمح، كما حرقوا جوامع وكنائس. الانتقام، جباية الثمن، انتقام اليهود، يعيش الملك المسيح. هذه بعض من شعاراتهم التي يكتبونها في مواقع جرائمهم. منذ سنوات والشرطة الإسرائيلية تدعي أنها تحقق في الجرائم المرتكبة.
Roger Waters is a British singer, composer, activist, and founder of the band Pink Floyd. He is also one of the most prominent supporters of the Palestinian cause across the world, denouncing the racism, barbarism, and settler colonialism nature of the occupation. He persistently condemns the policies of displacing and expelling Palestinians from their homes in Palestine and calls on world leaders and free people of the world to end the genocidal crimes and ethnic cleansing perpetrated against the Palestinian people. Palestine will remain a daily reminder for the world's conscience.
We all remember 1948, not just because of the Nakba and the creation of the Jewish state, but because the fledgling United Nations in Paris in 1948 made a universal declaration of human rights that was supposed to extend to all our brothers and sisters all over the world, irrespective of their ethnicity or their religion or their nationality. Well, would this not extend to the indigenous people of Palestine? Apparently not. They have no rights, and the rest of the world is doing nothing to redress that appalling travesty and miscarriage of international justice.
What? And Biden is still going, oh, I support Israel in anything. Oh, what, you support them in this genocidal removal of people from their homes? How would you like it, Joe Biden? You're sitting at home. There, that's your home. It's where your family have lived for hundreds of years. And some arsehole comes along and goes, oi, that's ours. I'm a settler. I'm going to take your house from you. You can, I don't care what you do. Die. That would be the very best thing. I mean, it is unconscionable, unbelievable. Makes me so angry. Rights. Unfortunately, the Israeli government does not care about human rights, and neither does this government in this country, which is why this administration is supporting the annexing of the Golan Heights and the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem and blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, and all the rest of it. So it is very important that those of us who do care organize, meet, have meetings and continue to protest the situation of our Palestinian friends. And we'll walk and
set us free. The truth will set us free. Truth will set us all free. On that day, and deep in my heart, I do believe that the truth will set us all free on that day. And we shall overcome on that day.
Indeed, the truth will set us free. We shall break these prison walls and we shall overcome. I want to thank all of our awardees for their hard work, for the commitment to Palestine. We're honored to have them, but also they are honored to be a part of that struggle, because I know how deeply committed they are to this struggle, as thousands and millions of people around the world are. And so today we celebrate them. But before we get to introduce each one of them, I just want to share with you what each will be getting. And this is a picture that was taken over a century ago of Jerusalem. This is actually was still under the Ottomans. As you could see in this, you have both the Dome of the Rock as well as the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the two domes, and this whole compound is the compound of Al-Aqsa. So this picture is going to be put on a stone, granite stone. It's going to be very heavy. It's about 40 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and each of our awardees, his or her name would be inscribed on that. But also we get a framed acknowledgement of their awards today, which reads as the Center for Islam and Global Affairs, Istanbul Salahuddin Zaim University, and Qudus Platform are honored to present the International Solidarity with Palestine Award to each of our awardees in the category they have in recognition of their notable contributions in solidarity action for Palestine and commitment to the just struggle of the Palestinian people. So I said this is for Sheikh Ikrima Sabri, this is for Professor Ilan Pape, this is for Hanadi Al-Halawani, this is for Al-Haq Organization and its Executive Director Shawan Jabreen, and this one of course is for Roger Waters. So I want to thank them again for being with us today. We're very honored to have them. And now I would like to have each of our awardees be introduced by a different person. And we're going to start by Ms. Bilqis Ibrahim Hakioglu from Qudus Platform to introduce Father Manuel Musallam, who is awarded today in the category of religious leader. Ms. Bilqis.
Çok heyecanlıyım.
I'm very excited. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Ben öncelikle
Well, first of all,
bu program dolayısıyla bütün katılımcılara,
on this
bütün ödül
occasion,
alan o çok değerli
I would like to
tebrik ve
thank
teşekkür ederim.
and congratulate every participant and every awardee. This is an especially important moment for me. It's an exciting moment for me to have this award because the very prestigious Father Manuel Musallam is a person that I visited in his house in Ramallah, and we cannot forget that day. You see behind me, Kubbetus Sahra, and that is a gift, that wooden model of Dome of the Rock.
yalnızca hem dini bir lider
We are
hem
giving
de
this award to
olması dolayısıyla
Father Manala,
ona.
and
Sallama
we are not giving this award to him just because he's a religious
sadece
leader.
İsrail'in
He is,
Filistin'i
as a
bölmek
Christian authority,
reddetmek için duyurmadı. O aynı
is
zamanda
not raising his voice to stop Israeli massacres. He is a symbol of perfect human being. And
için
in order to consolidate bonds between communities in Jerusalem, he embraced them all. And
huzurla ve saygıyla
Jerusalem has had a history of conviviality, and
iddialarını reddetmesi
he is someone who rejects Israel's exclusive assertions, and he is making an indispensable contribution to Palestinian cause. Salam is 10 years older than the state of Israel. That's why he has witnessed all the stages of the occupation, and he has the first person testimonies. And I've learned this one thing for the solution of this problem, for the salvation of Palestine. We need more effort to make sure that people live in peace there. Al-Aqsa is a Muslim holy site, and prestigious Father Musallam points out that Christians, as much as Muslims, bear responsibility to protect these holy sites, and he makes contributions in that direction. And his work has also contributed to how Al-Aqsa turned into a symbol of struggle. We are talking about someone who is like the apple of the eye of the universe, and Father Musallam is an architect of peace. Today, I present this award to him, and it's an immense honor and happiness for all of us. We're so happy to be giving this award to him. We have the joy. How lucky we are we have this joy. I believe that this award represents all humanity, and us included. This is an award that we give to you on behalf of the entire humanity. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude, and I would like to greet you with love and respect.
تفضل أبونا مانويل مسلم. You are muted. Father Musallam, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself. تفضل.
السيدة بلقيس إبراهيم حقي أوغلو.
Ms. Balqis Ibrahim Hockey-Oğlu, the head of the Al-Quds platform, brothers in the tourism and culture ministry in Turkey, peace be upon you. Father Manuel Musallam from Al-Quds salutes you. To see the Sheikh Ikrim al-Sabri at the door of the church and Ms. Hanadi at the door of another church, both defending the churches, and also Father Manuel Musallam at the door and the threshold of the Al-Aqsa Mosque to protect it, and then to give us an award for that. This is our message that there is a painful human story and terrifying and horrific Zionist occupation that has moved all the Palestinians who come from the same fabric of the Palestinian community, and they all took their parts to defend their city. Al-Quds, Jerusalem is the case and the cause of every Palestinian, and they are all the children of Jerusalem, and now it is heated with this struggle, and the Zionists are trying to shed the blood of those who stand up for Jerusalem by occupying them, killing them, and the screams of the people from Sheikh Jarrah, Bab al-Amoud, and Silwan, and the squares and the courtyards of Al-Aqsa Mosque are only stand witness and in testimony of the atrocities and the fiercity of this occupation. If, dear brothers, Muslims, Arabs, and around the world, if you stand up for the justice and the just cause of Palestine, you shall stand on the right side of justice. And if you support Jerusalem, you will protect the world from a religious war that shall spare no one. And if you support the Palestinian refugees and Palestinians in diaspora, you shall stand up for international law and the humanity of human beings and the dignity of human beings. And your dignity, dear Arabs and Muslims, is the equivalent to the dignity of Al-Quds and Al-Aqsa of Jerusalem. So would you just leave Jerusalem in us for us? Will you give us then the pledge, like he conquered Jerusalem, gave the Christians the ability to be protected. Now, when you support Jerusalem, we Palestinians shall remain the cross and minaret of Palestine to protect Al-Aqsa and the Church of Holy Sepulchre and its
وأهنئ جميع المكرمين
us and awarding Al-Quds and Jerusalem, and I in turn would give this award to Al-Aqsa Mosque in hope that it would stop a tear shed by a child or help ease the pain of a wounded person or ease the sorrow of a woman who lost her child as a martyr. And peace be upon you all.
Thank you so much, Father Musallam, for your inspiring words, for these heartfelt words that you have given us. You have become and have been a role model for many people, just in Palestine, but also throughout the world. Our next awardee will be Sheikh Ikrima Sabri, the Imam of Masjid Al-Aqsa. I am very honored and pleased to introduce the person who will introduce Sheikh Ikrima. He is our dear, beloved Professor Dr. Mehmet Görmez. He was the former president of Diyanet, the highest religious authority here in Turkey, and we are very happy to have him with us. Professor Görmez.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, and peace be upon all the prophets from Prophet Adam to Prophet Ibrahim, Abraham, and from Prophet Isa and Musa and Prophet Muhammad, the last and the seal of all prophets. Dear participants, brothers and sisters, activists in the cause of Palestine and Al-Aqsa, peace be upon you all. I congratulate the Sabah ad-Din Zaim University and the Al-Quds platform and the SIGA, the Center for Islamic and Global Affairs, and all the awardees of this blessed award. And I salute Professor Sami Al-Aryan for this important program. In each crisis of humanity, in each of the crises in which face our blessed nation, God gives his servants people who help them see what's right and remind them of the truth and remind them and the whole world that giving up and conceding is not an option and surrendering is not on the table. Those men, those people are equivalent and are as grand as a whole nation. They are just as patient and as strong as a whole nation, and with them God shall revive and reinvigorate a whole nation. One of those men who are as grand as mountains is our Sheikh, the Imam of Al-Aqsa Mosque, Sheikh Ikrima Sabri. May God protect him. He is not a single person, but rather a whole nation. In these hard times, he stands as a symbol for human rights, for justice and truth. A symbol for the nation and its steadfastness and its honor and dignity and its standing up for justice in the face of injustice and atrocities. This Sheikh, despite his old age, his old age did not stop him from being and standing up for in the face of occupation. He encourages young people and provides all he can and he owns in sacrifice for the holy places and the sanctity of Al-Quds, Jerusalem. This Sheikh, whose name has become much associated with Al-Aqsa Mosque, is a person who reminds us all that it is our common duty to exert all the efforts and all what we can that for Al-Aqsa Mosque, because he on a daily basis proves that there is no ascension for this nation without Al-Aqsa Mosque. There is no ascent for our nation to the ranks of modern and developed nations without the going first to Al-Aqsa Mosque. And Al-Aqsa Mosque shall not be visited unless it is free and not defiled, and it shall only be free and not defiled with the efforts of those who make all of those efforts and who struggle. And the sheikh was threatened and he sacrificed money, and he was harassed with his wife and his family. He was even threatened by death. But all of this did not stop him, but rather added to his steadfastness and his strength. Giving this award to Sheikh Ikrim al-Sabri is an award to all of us. It's not an award for him. It's an award. The award also for His Eminency Musallam and Professor Ilan Pape, and also the honor of Hanadi Al-Halwani Al-Haq organization and Mr. Roger Waters. All of those awards are actually awards for ourselves rather than them, because they are already honored and awarded by their own stances and their own positions against all injustice. But we're trying to pay back some of what is due for them, for those grand figures of humanity. We pray to God to protect Sheikh Ikrim al-Sabri and give him the opportunity to preach in Al-Aqsa Mosque when it is free, and I shall call for prayer on that day. And may God bless Prophet Muhammad and his companions and family, and peace be upon you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Gormaz. Now we turn it to Sheikh Ikrim al-Sabri to give us few words. Sheikh Ikrim, تفضل.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله.
In the name of God, the Almighty, all praise to God and the blessings and the prayers of Allah on His Prophet. Do you hear me well? I'm speaking. Do you hear me?
الصوت واضح؟ تمام. رقم ضعيفة ضغط عليها. هي
Do you hear me fine?
الصوت واضح؟
واضح.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم.
I seek refuge in God from Satan, and in the name of God, the merciful, bountiful. All praise to God and the prayers and the blessings of God to His messenger and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all his companions, and all the followers, and who performed their jihad till the day of judgment. Dear brothers, from the surroundings of Al-Aqsa Mosque, I communicate the greetings of your brothers who are steadfast, who are the ladies and gentlemen who belong to Al-Aqsa, and we appreciate your efforts. I would like to thank brother Professor Sami Al-Aryan and Dr. Muhammad Qulmaz for his introduction. I ask God to be up to the introduction and the position that He put me in to fulfill our duty towards Allah, because the blessed Aqsa Mosque is for Muslims alone by the order of Allah from this up above the seventh sky. It's not the order of the Security Council or any other earthly order. It is a creed that we believe in, and the appreciation that is provided by SIGA, by Dr. Sami Al-Aryan. I would like to say that this appreciation or this attribute is not for me, but for all the workers, for all the steadfast men and women. And I would like to dedicate this attribute to Jerusalem, Al-Quds, and to Al-Aqsa Mosque. Once again, I ask Allah that I will be up to the feeling or the good words that you said about me, and that we will be servants to the causes of the Islamic Ummah. This Ummah that has over 2 billion of population. I would like to say that we have the duty to protect Al-Aqsa Mosque on behalf of the entire Islamic Ummah, and at the same time, the Islamic Ummah should shoulder this responsibility, because Al-Aqsa Mosque is not only for the people of Palestine, but it is for all the Muslims. Al-Aqsa Mosque is just as the Kaaba, the Holy Kaaba in Mecca, and the Prophet's Mosque in Medina. I hope that we will all meet together on the righteous path, and if we are not physically meeting, our spirits are meeting together. And until that day when we meet face to face, I hope that God will support us. And as the Almighty says, He says, work, and God and the Prophet and all the angels will look at your work. Peace be upon you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Ikram Sabri, for your steadfastness, for your determination, for your strong will, and for being a role model for all of us, and for those, particularly the youth in Palestine, for standing up to the oppression and to standing up to the Zionist incursion that comes every day. Our third awardee is Professor Ilan Pape, the eminent professor at the University of Exeter, and for that he will be introduced by Dr. Ramzi Baroud, who was his student and colleague, as well as a research fellow here at SIGA. Ramzi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sami Al-Aryan, SIGA, Zaim University, for allowing us to be part of this inspiring event and in the company of these great women and men, and for all of the wonderful and critical work that you do. Professor Ilan Pape is receiving this honor for his outstanding contributions as a Palestine historian and a prominent public intellectual. Professor Pape is the author of several critical books on Palestine and Israel, including The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, The Idea of Israel, and 10 Myths about Israel. Professor Pape's authoritative book, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, articulates with precision, great clarity, courage, and moral fortitude the devastating history of the Palestinian Nakba, the catastrophic destruction of the Palestinian homeland, as well as its consequences both inside and outside Palestine, Israel. Perhaps more than anyone else, Professor Pape has helped to show how the Nakba is an ongoing reality, what we call al-Nakba al-Mustamirra in Arabic, of the Israeli occupation, racism, and apartheid, and not merely as a fleeting moment in history. Professor Pape's contributions, both as a historian and a public intellectual and as a justice activist, have been instrumental in shifting the discourse on Palestine in academic circles and intellectual platforms around the world. It is no exaggeration to state that without Professor Pape's unique insight, thorough research, and unmatched take on history, our understanding of such matters as the systematic Zionist ethnic cleansing of Palestine, the ongoing Israeli apartheid, in fact, of Zionism as a settler colonial ideology, would be greatly lacking. Equally invaluable, Professor Pape has given a generation of young scholars and activists, amongst them numerous Palestinians, the intellectual tools and confidence to speak about Palestine and Israel without fear and without reservation. Much more can be said, but I want to add one final remark and say that as a human being, Ilan is one of the kindest, most patient, and warm-hearted people you'll ever meet. For his numerous and timeless accomplishments, it is our greatest pride and honor to present Professor Ilan Pape with this prize today.
Thank you very much, Ramzi. And for public intellectual, it's my honor to have Professor Ilan Pape give us a few words.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor and with great humility that I accept this remarkable award and this and the honor of being part of this incredible ceremony, coming after a month of young people and older people showing resistance and resilience and steadfastness in Palestine, and to be able to honor them as well as part of this ceremony. I'm very moved to be part of this event. I'm honored, first of all, because it is also connected to someone I admired for a very long time for his moral courage, his humanity, his clarity, and this is Dr. Sami Al-Arian, and it's a great honor to be part of a ceremony and organized by a center that he heads, and I was always found our meetings inspiring morally, intellectually, and humanly. I'm also very honored and moved to be introduced by my dear friend and colleague and now co-author, Dr. Ramzi Baroud, who was my PhD student, and now his daughter is my PhD student. So it feels a bit like a family event as such, and that really gives it another kind of a different dimension. And I'm very honored to receive it from SIGA, a center which I had the fortune to visit, to participate in many of its events. And especially I remember a conference on Palestine, which was, to my mind, one of the best I've ever attended. And believe me, very few people on the globe attended as many conferences on Palestine as I did. I'm also honored to be included with such amazing, incredible other awardees, which really makes me feel that I'm receiving an antidote to all the hatred and allegations that a Jew who was born in historical Palestine receives daily from his own society, sometimes from his own family, for taking a position that they would regard as treason, which also causes part of his own family not to talk to him. This is a rewarding moment and one that compensates for many, many hours of animosity and hatred. But more than anything else, I see it not just as a reward, which of course it is, but also as a reminder not to give up, to remain steadfast and resilient and continue the work for Palestine, for its liberation, for its freedom, not to rest one moment, because there's so much to do and there is so many things one can still do and should do in order to enhance the just struggle for justice, peace and freedom in Palestine. And such events as this one remind us that we should continue and talk and inform and protest and act and show solidarity with the brave people of Palestine, whether they are in historical Palestine or in the refugee community or in the exilic communities, believing together with them that one day Palestine would be free, the refugees would return, and we will all live together, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, as we used to live until Zionism arrived on the shores of Palestine. Thank you very much again. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Ramzi, for your very, very kind words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ilan, for your kind words, for your love and for your work, for all the work you've been doing for Palestine, and not being the intellectual sitting in an ivory tower, but being an intellectual willing to go to the trenches and make a difference. Our next awardee for the category Profile and Courage is Hanadi Al-Halawani, and she will be introduced by Dr. Rafza Kavakchi Khan, who is also a member of parliament. Sister Rafza.
Assalamu alaikum. I would like to greet everyone, whatever time frame they're in right now, from all over the world. It is my truly great honor. I'm humbled to be a part of this program. There's distinguished speakers, leaders, our religious leaders, artists, and people who have love and passion for Palestine. It's my great honor. I'm humbled to be among you. When Edward Said talks about Palestine before the Israeli state, he talks about how Palestine was presented as an exotic land of milk and honey, where people lived freely. And it was some place you wanted to visit, like a mystic place. But after the Israeli state was established, it was presented as a land with no people. Everything was deleted, and for a people with no land. And that's how it was presented to the world. And that is how all the suffering and torture and human rights violations began. Of course, all of you know this better than I do, so I will stop and I will continue presenting the award. Sister Hanadi Al-Halawani, it's my great honor. I had the honor of meeting her a couple of weeks ago, hosting her at the Grand National Assembly of Turkey. It's my great honor to present you this award today. Sister Hanadi Al-Halawani is receiving this honor for her outstanding role as an activist and as an educator in Palestine, in Al-Quds. Ms. Al-Halawani herself is a lifelong victim, but she's also a fighter. She's not just a passive victim of Israeli apartheid. She spent most of her life struggling to protect the sanctity of the Al-Aqsa compound against constant Israeli incursions. Sister Halawani lives only a short walking distance from the Al-Aqsa compound. What a beautiful walk it must be from your home, but what a difficult walk it must be from your home to Al-Aqsa. And she took it upon herself to protect the sacred space from Israeli forces by educating young generations of its history and encouraging them to actively stand against any and all incursions. Sister Al-Halawani has taught many years in the Al-Aqsa compound, and provided regular meals to the congregants there. And I'm sure the foods that she served tasted very good too. For these reasons, Sister Al-Halawani has been banned from entering the holy site multiple times by Israeli forces. She's a manifestation of both the victimhood of Palestinian people as well as the resilience that sustains them in the ongoing oppression. For these reasons, it's a great honor for me to present the award today. And the award is an award for courage, outstanding courage. Again, I'm really I'm very emotional, so I cannot find the words to express how humbled I am and how happy I am to be amongst you. And one last message to all my brothers and sisters in Palestine. You continue this fight, and all of us at our different professions, me as a member of parliament and as a president of Turkish group to the Interparliamentary Union, we will be fighting for you as well in the international arena. So don't think that you're alone. Maybe the internet will not work, or maybe you will be in a confined space, but you are not alone. We are with you. And the fight, when you can't fight because you're not allowed to fight, we will do the fight with you, no matter where we are. We will fight for you. We will be with you. Thank you so much. Salam alaikum.
Thank you so much, Sister Ravza. You yourself and your family have demonstrated courage as well here in Turkey, and thank you for all the work you've been doing. Now I'd like to ask Sister Hanadi Al-Halawani to say a few words. Particularly yesterday, she just received another ban from being Al-Aqsa, from being to visit Al-Aqsa and to teach there. Sister Hanadi.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أولا شكرا
Peace be
جزيلا.
upon you. First, I would like to thank the parliament member, Ravza. I met her in Turkey for a short while, and I was honored to meet her. And from here, I would like to greet all the attendees from the Holy Land of Quds, Jerusalem. I would like to greet everyone, our sheikhs and the Father Manuel Msallam, Sheikh Akrim al-Sabri, and all the colleagues, especially you, Professor Sami Al-Aryan. We deliver this greeting for you from the land that Prophet Muhammad had the night journey to, and he prayed leading all the prophets. And we know that even those who discourage us or not support us will not affect us, as the prophet promised us. I would like to thank Siga. A million thank you and a million appreciation for you for selecting me to be part of this event with this great group of people. Then I would like to say, to quote from the Quran, the Almighty says that those who were paid injustice are promised that they are allowed to fight, and God is able to support them. So we were expelled from our holy land, and the Israelis want to divide our land geographically and in a time on a time level, and they are claiming that the Temple of Solomon will be built there, and we will not allow that as long as we are alive and as long as we have our spirits are in our bodies, and as long as there are peoples who are preparing themselves for the major fight with this enemy in the holy book that will remain in the reading and in the hearts of people till the day of judgment. As Mr. Rabza said, that I am living in Jerusalem near the Al-Aqsa. My steadfastness and ribat is since the day I was born in here, but it continues in working in the project of the education circles in Quran. I teach I do so many activities, including teaching with the recitation of Quran, and I was able, with the support of my sisters, to expand this project to include women, children, and men as well, to increase the number of Muslims and people who are in the surroundings of Al-Aqsa. And we created the projects that hindered the infiltration of the Israelis to Al-Aqsa. So the schemes of the Israelis and the Zionists were exposed, and they started to arrest us and to expel us. And my name was always on the top of the list, especially the blacklist that was called by the Israeli colonizers, and I call it the golden list, as one of the protectors of Al-Aqsa. This list includes people that are expelled and others who were arrested and were prevented from traveling and banned from any medical care. Of course, expulsion from Al-Aqsa will not discourage me or discourage our sisters from our struggle. We continued our struggle and our steadfastness on the surroundings of Al-Aqsa, and we continue our steadfastness on the doors and the gates of Al-Aqsa. We were expelled from Al-Aqsa unjustly. We were arrested. We received accusations, and yesterday I was arrested at the gates of Al-Aqsa, and I am, although I am a student of higher studies in Birzeit University, and I was prevented from doing my exams. And in addition to this, the expulsion orders that lasted for 7 years, I am prevented from worship in Al-Aqsa. The charges that we receive from the enemy, the Zionist enemy, is that we say Allahu Akbar, we say Allah is the greatest, or we hold the Quran. For all of that, they are prosecuting us, forcing us to pay very expensive fines, and they are banning us from travel for nothing but because we are continuing to do that as much as possible to deliver the voice of Al-Aqsa to the entire world. This occupation that we are facing today is a weak enemy. It relies on the support of major of superpowers, and they are looking for normalization with other countries, but they are robbers who stole our lands, and they are using or they are making enemy out of the teachers in the in Al-Aqsa, and they are expelling us because they know that we are one of the people who are trying to bring the awakening of the Ummah, and they ban us from everything, from the simplest things in our lives, food, water, or even the medical care. But we will continue. And this awakening that we see nowadays, today, through Sabah Din University, Istanbul, I would like to deliver the message to the entire world, to tell the world that our struggle started to bring fruit, and the victory is very looming, and the final battle that will defeat this enemy is very soon. And as our prophet promised us when he said that even the rocks and the trees will call the Muslims and say, "Oh, Muslim, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him." This battle, we are all fighters and soldiers in this battle. So we either select to be on the side of the fighters, or we be bystanders. Or, and of course, not to mention those who will be on the side of the enemy. So if we want to see victory, we need to prepare ourselves for the victory. And if we want to be empowered, so we need to prepare ourselves for that empowerment, because no empowerment or victory comes without paying a price for that. And as Allah or the Almighty said, do you think you will go to the paradise without being tested with the several calamities, until those who are patient will say when the victory of God will come. So when you prepare yourself for the victory, you will achieve your goal and you will get to the paradise. As we promised you, we are on the front lines we are steadfast and we are patient and we are protecting Al-Aqsa in our souls and our money. And we are waiting for the armies of victory to follow us and support us. I hope that as we are meeting together here virtually from behind the screens, that we will meet physically together in the surroundings of Al-Aqsa as well as in the paradise in the afterlife. Thank you very much. Indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sister Hanadi, for your courage, for standing up to oppression, for being witness to mankind, and for being a role model for all to follow. I just want to emphasize here that our fight is not with Judaism, it's not with Jews because they are Jews. Our fight is with Zionism and with the Sitter colonialist project that is determined to take the land and expel the people. And this is not a religious warfare. It's about oppressive policies, and it's about how it's being used, how Judaism is being used in order to suppress and oppress the Palestinian people. Our D is in the category of human rights, and this is awarded to Al-Haq Organization for Human Rights, and its able executive director, Mr. Sha'wan Jabarin, and for that, he will be introduced by Mr. Oliver McTernan, who is the executive director of Forward Thinking, who's been spending a good amount of his time and effort for the past decade or so working on Palestine. Mr. Oliver McTernan. You need to unmute
You're
yourself.
muted.
Unmute yourself, Oliver. Oliver, you need.
I think I'm unmuted now. It's going to be forever part of our language. Unmute yourself. Thank you, Dr. Sami, for giving us this opportunity to honor people who have, I would say, one outstanding quality in common, and that is the courage to stand up in the face of injustice, the injustice that the Palestinian people have been suffering for far, far too long. It's a great honor tonight to introduce the work of Al-Haq, and the reason that it's been chosen for this award is simply its outstanding role as an independent Palestinian human rights organization. Founded in 1979, it was the first human rights organization, not only in Palestine, but in the Arab world. And since then, Al-Haq has monitored, reported on, and addressed human rights violations perpetrated against the Palestinian people by the Israeli occupation. It's been instrumental in publishing many original reports that expose the facts and the painful consequences of the continued occupation, bringing the realities of the daily lives of the Palestinian people to the attention of the global community. But it also provides Palestinians with legal services, supports them in the worst moments. A good example of this is when they go on hunger strike. It is also works with other human rights groups like B'Tselem and international organizations to advance the Palestinian cause. Now, since its founding over 4 decades ago, Al-Haq has consistently stood on the side of justice and promoted the cause of justice both in Palestine and abroad. For these reasons, it is our great pride tonight to present Al-Haq with this award. Sha'wan Jabarin, who is the executive director, will receive the reward on behalf of Al-Haq. And reading his CV, I would think that no one is better placed than to be honored in this way, because he is a long-standing and outstanding representative of his organization, and working with numerous
international organizations like Human Rights and Amnesty International, he has helped to promote the rights of the Palestinian people around the world. Trained as a human rights lawyer, Shawan has aided the Palestinian cause not only through his legal work, but also in his contribution to the Palestinian narrative. In his advisory role at Human Rights Watch, he helped shift the reporting on the occupation to avoid drawing parity between the occupier Israel and the occupied Palestinians, who are the real victims. For his legal and political activities in Palestine, Shawan has spent nearly half a decade, that's collectively, as a political prisoner of conscience, during which he suffered physical abuse at the hands of the Israeli authorities. Today, he continues to use his political and legal expertise to document the numerous human rights abuses faced by the Palestinian people. Shawan, it is truly a grand. I wish you many years ahead of effective work for your people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Shawan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver, for your introduction and kind words. I would like to start by thanking Zaim University, the Center for Islam and Global Affairs, and its director, Professor Sami Al-Aryan, for the award and for organizing this ceremony. I also would like to congratulate all fellow recipients. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to receive this award on behalf of the Palestinian people and Al-Haq family, including its board of directors, General Assembly, members, partners, friends of Al-Haq and its past and the present staff members. This award is for all Palestinian victims of Israeli international crimes, men, women, and children. This award is for all of those who raised their voices against Israeli colonization and oppression of the Palestinian people. Those who did not keep their silence, and those who keep pushing for justice, human rights, and accountability. This award is for those who push for maintaining the Palestinian rights to participation and maintain their representation. The last few weeks have proven that the Palestinian youth are ever more attached to their land in continuation of the resilience of their ancestors, despite Israel's continuous efforts to divide and fragment the Palestinian people. Palestinian youth have asserted their unity in their struggle. While frustrated by decades of Israeli dominations, Palestinians' youth are full of hope and determined to change the status quo. A status quo that denies the Palestinian people their basic human rights, particularly to exercise their right to self-determination and right of return. The Palestinian people have demonstrated that the world can no longer shy away from the Palestinian struggle, and that Palestine can no longer be treated as an exception to the application of international law principles and norms. The rhetoric around Palestine has changed. The principled effort made must be sustained. We must not lose the momentum. As I accept this award on behalf of Al-Haq, I assure you that we will continue with our work and efforts to document violations, advocate for Palestinians' rights, and support the prosecution of Israeli perpetrators of international crimes, despite the challenge we are faced with. I see this award as a renewal of our promise and commitment of defending human rights, justice, accountability, and rule of law. Finally, I assure you all tonight that we will not give up and we keep hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shawan, for all the work you've been doing and for Al-Haq. It has really been at the forefront of this struggle, documenting all the different excesses and the oppressive measures taking place today against the Palestinians. You are at the front lines, and we congratulate you for being steadfast. Our last category for tonight is in the category of arts and culture, and it's really our honor to have with us tonight someone who's been at the forefront talking to the whole world about the plight of the Palestinians, unrelenting despite all the attacks that he's been facing, and that's of course Mr. Roger Waters. And for that he would be introduced by Ms. Özgül Yavuz, the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in the Republic of Turkey. Ms. Özgül.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Özgül will speak in English, so we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Are you on the English channel, Ms. Özgül?
Thank you. Receiving this honor for his outstanding artistic and vocal contributions in support of Palestine. Mr. Waters has been a strong supporter of Palestinian liberation and the principled opponent of Israeli apartheid since the mid-2000s, when he began to engage more publicly in political activism. For decades, Mr. Waters has used his platform as a musician to highlight the Israeli apartheid system and the way it discriminates against, subjugates, and oppresses the Palestinian people. From his support for the Gaza Freedom March in 2008 to the Great March of Return a decade later in 2018, and more recently for those facing forced evictions in Sheikh Jarrah in 2021, Mr. Waters has stood constantly with the Palestinians and their right to live in freedom, dignity, and equality. Mr. Waters has also shown his support for the Palestinian cause in his music directly. His platform, Trio Gibran, uses the words of the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish as a way to rebuke the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's undivided capital. As a musician, Mr. Waters constantly encourages fellow artists and musicians to speak out in protest of the occupation and the continued discrimination faced by the Palestinians by supporting the popular. Duyamıyor mu?
Alex?
Excuse me?
He says he can't hear.
Yeah.
He can't hear. Duyamıyormuş.
Let me see. Can you hear me, Mr. Waters? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just couldn't hear her at all.
Okay, well, you need to go down in the interpretation button where English and it says mute original audio. You need to unmute that. Do you see it?
At the bottom.
At the bottom. Unmute original audio. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, now. Okay. Ms. Özgül, can you talk just to make sure he hears you? Can you say something?
Can you hear me, Mr.?
Yes, I can now.
All right, you may want to start over. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Roger Waters is receiving this honor for his outstanding artistic and vocal contributions in support of Palestine. Mr. Waters has been a strong supporter of Palestinian liberation and the principled opponent of Israeli apartheid since the mid-2000s, when he began to engage more publicly in political activism. For decades, he has used his platform as a musician to highlight the Israeli apartheid system and the way it discriminates against, subjugates, and opposes the Palestinian people. From his support for the Gaza Freedom March in 2008 to the Great March of Return a decade later in 2018, and more recently for those facing forced evictions in Sheikh Jarrah in 2021, Mr. Waters has stood constantly with the Palestinians and their right to live in freedom, dignity, and equality. Mr. Waters has also shown his support for the Palestinian cause in his music directly. His performance of Supremacy with the Palestinian Oath Group, Trio Jubran, uses the words of great Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish as a way to rebuke the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's undivided capital. As a musician, Mr. Waters constantly encourages fellow artists and musicians to speak out in protest of the occupation and the continued discrimination faced by the Palestinians by supporting the popular Palestinian-led movement of boycott, divestment, sanctions. For these reasons, it is our great honor to present Mr. Roger Waters with this award today. Thank you.
Bravo.
Please.
Is this me?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
No, I'm here. Okay. Well, that was all very, very moving, and so great to be in the room with you. Finally, we had a internet blackout earlier, so I had to jump on the subway and rush down here in the middle of all this. I prepared some notes, so Sami, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to Sika, and I feel very, very moved and very honored. I just want to mention a couple of names here. When we were supposed to be doing this before COVID in Istanbul, I remember that I was going to get to meet Hussein and Suha Abu Qadir, who are the parents of the boy who was killed tragically, as we all know. So I want them, if they happen to hear about this or watch, to know that I'm still thinking about them. There are many people who I think about, you know, almost every day of my life. People of victims, flashing through my mind as I'm reminded how lucky I have been in my life. And blah, blah, blah. There's one of them here, okay? I wrote an op-ed years ago in 2017 for Rolling Stone. You won't have read it because they didn't print it. They thought I'd said enough about Palestine. But it was when my sister, well, I'll read you the beginning of it, okay? The title of the op-ed was Freedom of Speech, Human Rights, the Law, and the US Constitution. Are you bored yet? I asked the readers. There weren't any because it was never published, but okay, I'll start again. Your sister is walking to school dressed in her school uniform when she is shot by a soldier at close range from an army observation post. The soldier's superior officer, Captain X, name protected, goes over to confirm the kill. He's not quite sure she's dead, so he puts 2 rounds through her skull and empties the rest of his magazine into her body. It's October the 5th, 2004. Your sister's name is Iman Alhams. She is 13 years old. Not your sister? Are you sure? Here's a photo. Anyway, be that as it may, I am consumed with grief 7 years later. 17 years later. There's another little piece that I found here. It's a poem I wrote in Bologna in 2018. And it was during the Great March of Return protests that were happening every day after day in Gaza. And the poem is called A Peaceful Protest, and it's Bologna, Sunday, April the 22nd, 2018. And it's for one of the children killed during those peaceful protests. He was called Mohammed Ayoub. And this is my poem. The birds have stopped singing. A bell tolls. I could sit here and wither and die in this beauty. Yesterday on the train from Milan, I looked out over the Lombardy plain. Small farms, ordinary lives, peace. I imagined dead olive trees and rubble. On Friday, Mohammed was 14. Now he is gone. We cross a river. The massacre grinds on. I'd like to meet the man who taught the boy who pulled the trigger his callous disregard. I would spit on him and do no good. The birds have stopped singing. The bell tolls on. This year, Mohammed Ayoub would have been 17. Just 3 of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. My internet just went down. How apt. This is what it must be like to try to live in Gaza. My internet never goes down. Ever, ever, ever. Well, it did today. Maybe somebody was trying to tell me something. All right, 2 other people I want to mention. First is my mother, Mary Waters. My mother was a wise, she's dead. She's been dead this many years. My mother was a wise woman. She sowed the seeds of my activism when I was a 13-year-old boy myself. One day I was struggling with something or other. I've no idea what it was. But my mum could see I was a troubled youth. She sat me down and told me this. As you go through life, Roger, you will be faced with many difficult situations, many choices, many conundrums. It will not always be easy. Life isn't always easy. My advice to you is this. When faced with a difficult choice, when you have to take a position, take your time, do the research, find out everything you can, get the facts as straight as you can. Also, by all means, listen to all points of view. Cast your net wide in search of the truth. When you've done all that, the hard work is over. You've done all the heavy lifting. The next bit is the easy bit. Just do the right thing, my mother said. What a precious gift from a parent. On the foundation of my mother's deeply caring ethos, I have carved out a small platform, and it is why I am here today with you, and I thank you for the great, great honor that you do me. The platform on which I stand dates from 48. Now, in the introduction, a couple of hours ago on your program, I saw myself making exactly the same speech. So I'm reluctant to make it again, but it's about the United Nations in 1948, the same year as the Nakba. And I say here, the peoples of these United Nations all those years ago, if we had enshrined those articles in international laws and abided by those laws, my brother Mohammed Abu Qadir would be 23, my sister Iman Alhams would be 31, my brother Mohammed Ayoub would be 17. I stand shaking in my rage and grief for these lost 73 years. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. In America, where I live, the scales are beginning to fall from the people's eyes. They are beginning to say, I never looked at it that way. Those of us who actually believe in equal human rights for all our brothers and sisters all over the world, irrespective of their ethnicity or religion or nationality, are finding our voice. The choir is growing in number and strength, and the rising crescendo of our voices joined in harmony is beginning to rattle the cages of those in high places. My internet is still out, so I'm going to jump on the subway and go to a friend's house. I'm in my friend's house. Thank you, friend. All right, I'm nearly done, Sami. Bear with. I may be speaking out of turn now, but I have to say this as well, as we are in Istanbul. Speaking of people in high places, please, President Erdogan, I implore you, take my mother's advice and look into the case of one young woman sentenced to 19 years incarceration for the crime of singing songs in her native tongue. And then just do the right thing. Please, sir, pardon Nudem Durek. I know she's not Palestinian, but she is a human being and she is locked up and she should be set free. Sami, thank you so much. That's all I have to share with you, my brother. But I really, when I couldn't come last year, it sort of broke my heart, but this is sort of made up for it. And to be in the same room with these wonderful people is moving me beyond all measure. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Roger. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for standing up to injustice. Thank you for your humanity, for your love, for showing anger when people need to show anger. And please keep speaking up. Palestinians need voices like yours because your voice is heard by hundreds of millions of people. And that tells people that Palestine matters. And thank you for also putting people in notice, those who are in power, who don't care about the Palestinians, and you're putting them on notice and letting people know. This night has been a special night for all of us. We've been preparing for this for over a year. I'm so happy that we finally got it underway. I want to congratulate all 6 awardees for tonight, and just let everybody know that our work for Palestine doesn't end here. We're just starting. Oppression doesn't end. Occupation didn't end. The state of siege on Gaza doesn't end. The occupation of Al-Aqsa, of Jerusalem, of the West Bank and beyond didn't end. That means that we need all to band together, come together during these times. Yes, we congratulate, we celebrate those who stood up, who became role models for us, and we will be joining, as Roger said in the song, hand in hand to break the prison walls, and we shall overcome. Thank you very much, everybody, for a beautiful night. I just want to tell people that tomorrow we are starting our conference for Palestine, our second conference for Palestine. It's going to be 6 nights in a row with over 60 participants and speakers. And it is titled Challenging Apartheid in Palestine, Reclaiming the Narrative, Formulating a Vision. And tomorrow we will have our opening session at 6:30 Istanbul time, which is 4:30 London time and 11:30 in New York. Hope to see many of you here tomorrow. Thank you so much for everybody for being part of this wonderful, wonderful evening. And good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.